Hello and welcome. It is time for your Carolina News. I'm Cheyenne Blodgett.
And I'm McKenna C. Slack. Happy Monday and happy Veterans Day. Headed our way are cooler than normal temperatures.
That's right. Columbia could have freeze warnings coming this week. Calista Brown is live outside the greenhouse to let you know when you should bring in your plants and animals.
What can we expect, Calista?
Thanks, guys. Waking up this morning was cold and it definitely felt like winter, but it's warmed up to a perfect fall day and it's almost 70 degrees. The outdoor animals and potted plants will be okay for one more night, but these temperatures are going to take a dip with this Arctic blast that could reach us tomorrow and linger around for the next few days. I'll be back later in the show to let you know just how cold it's going to get and if we're going to warm back up anytime soon. That was your live weather update. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Calista. Like she said, an Arctic blast is headed our way. The cold front is making its way through the Midwest, but will get here later on tonight. Bring in your plants and animals so that they don't freeze overnight, and keep water running through the house to prevent pipes from freezing as well. Also, be sure to keep your heat in by closing your garage doors and clear out your gutters to prevent any potential ice damage.
Columbia residents gathered downtown today to celebrate our military heroes at the annual Veterans Day Parade. Reporter Eli Brand went to see what it's like for the attendees and veterans.
Yeah, guys, I'm right here at the South Carolina Veterans Parade. They started right down here at the end of the street on the corner of Sumter and Laurel, and they're going to go all the way down to the State House at the end of Sumter Street. But it means so much more for the people here, especially the veterans, than just the visual of the parade.
I have a lot of respect for military people, even nowadays. Just seeing them, saluting these guys out here, it's great.
This parade is stunning to look at. But for veterans like Tom Rell, what they feel on the inside is what makes it so special to them.
Meeting military people, we have just so much in common and respect for not only the American flag, but what our country stands for.
From trainees to first responders to veterans to impressionists, this parade has a little bit of everyone involved, and many people here have a smile on their face. But it hasn't always been this way for returning veterans, including Tom. Tom is a Vietnam veteran and didn't receive any parades or welcoming parties when he returned to the U.S. Now that he gets to see parades like this honoring his service, it makes him feel that everything he sacrificed was worth it after all.
I'm glad I did it. Yes, sir. Yep.
For Columbia, this is the fourth decade the city has put on the parade, and they have no plans to stop honoring those that made one of the toughest sacrifices a person can make. This is the largest Veterans Day parade in the state of South Carolina and the third largest in the Southeast. And as you can see by the number of soldiers marching behind me right now, it is growing in number every year. Reporting for Carolina News, Eli Brand.
The parade lasted from 11 to 12:30 and occurs in downtown Columbia each year on Veterans Day. This holiday reminds Americans of those who have sacrificed everything to give us our freedom. And it wasn't just downtown Columbia residents celebrating our vets. Fort Jackson and the 282D Army Band are kicking off the Veterans Day celebrations. Last night, a concert was held at the Shandon United Methodist Church for veterans and their families. Vets came from all over to honor their time and their service. Many hope that this event continues and keeps growing to honor those veterans who are alive and to keep the memories for those who have sacrificed their lives.
Now, it is a federal holiday, but that doesn't mean that everything's closed. Most banks are closed today, along with anything government-owned. This includes places like the post office and public libraries, but museums are usually open and offer discounts for veterans. Places like grocery stores and movie theaters are still open, and if you're not sure, just call and check the times. Sunday afternoon, hundreds, 450 to be exact, gathered to participate in the Columbia Veterans Day 5K. This annual race raises money for military families and helps rally the community around our heroes. Reporter Hannah Powers took in the sights and sounds and met some very special vets.
3, 2, 1!
For the second year in a row, hundreds gathered to participate in the Veterans Day 5K. In a state like South Carolina, which ranks in the top 5 states with highest number of military enlistees, Veterans Day is a very important event in the community. Race founder Brooks Herring says this is one way he gives back.
I enjoyed serving, and I live to serve. I mean, since I got out, I've just been looking for ways to continue to support my brothers and sisters.
Event volunteer and active Marine Bobby Herpel loves this time of year.
It's fantastic. This is wonderful. Yes, I love it. And today is our Marine Corps birthday, so I love celebrating that. And then Veterans Day tomorrow, and the turnout we had today was just, spectacular. I'm elated. We had a total of 388 runners, and then between volunteers and everyone else that made this possible, I'd say probably like 450 people total.
The winner of the race and 5K first-timer, Owen Williams, says he loves celebrating our veterans.
I love it. They're the heroes. We just run, but so very thankful for all they do.
USC Student Body President Luke Rankin is glad he could help with the event, which raises money for veterans.
Student veterans are a big pocket of our population on campus, and making sure that they are represented and that we have something to thank them for all that they do.
For the ramparts we watched.
Perhaps everyone's favorite finisher was Thomas Peel, 92 years old, who served in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, and is glad people in the community are taking the time to recognize veterans.
I think it's terrific, really. I appreciate it.
Right now behind me, volunteers are taking down the finish line because all of the racers are actually inside Carolina Western Pub right now, celebrating their victories today. It's been a wonderful day to say thanks to everything that our veterans do for our community here in Columbia. Happy Veterans Day. For Carolina News, I'm Hannah Powers.
It was a fun afternoon here in the city. Thousands of dollars and counting were raised for Friends of Fisher House.
A crash involving a train and a truck in Lexington County has left 3 people injured. Around 9:30 Saturday morning, the car was going south on Walter MacArthur Road when it drove onto the railroad tracks. The train was traveling west when it hit the car on its side. One person was airlifted to Prisma Health while the other 2 were taken by ambulance. The conditions of the 3 victims from the crash is unknown at the time. The area of the track is only controlled by a stop sign rather than a barrier. The Sumter community laid to rest 5-year-old Nevaeh Adams last night. Nevaeh and her mother, Sherry Bradley, were killed by Dante Johnson. When police were searching for Bradley in her apartment, they found her dead, but Nevaeh was missing. Johnson confessed to killing both Sherry and Nevaeh in their apartment in August. Johnson is being charged with 2 counts of murder and is at the Sumter Lee Detention Center without bond.
A local pastor led the Newberry County community through a day of prayer yesterday. The event comes as a way to speak out against the recent violent crimes that have struck the community. Data from the Newberry Police Department shows an increase in total number of homicides in the city during 2019. Margaret Singley attended the event to advocate for her son, who was killed after attending a party at the Hartford Community Center.
Son, 38-year-old son, was killed. A senseless act of violence that left 5 children fatherless.
This one sneezed.
4 out of the 6 murder cases were due to gun violence. These cases show the spike from 2018 when the Newberry Police Department reported only 1 murder.
Coming up on Carolina News, there may be a reason why you're feeling blue during the gloomy days of winter. How to treat the wintertime blues when we come back. Welcome back to Carolina News. A recent study released by Science Daily says music therapy can treat conditions like anxiety, depression, autism, and dementia, but a local music therapy program may not be around for much longer. Reporter Anna King went out to get a better idea of the benefits this type of therapy can have.
What are you thankful for?
For myself.
You're thankful for yourself.
This is Miss Helen. At almost 100, she suffers from dementia and is now a hospice patient. And every week, she looks forward to her music therapy.
Of course, with the dementia, she's steadily going down, but she still likes to hear the music. She loves music. It makes her happy.
With the therapist, she sings, plays instruments, and reads along. And her daughter says she's already seeing improvements.
Dementia, you don't remember stuff. Like I can go back to her, she'll call me back to her room and I'll answer a question, and then I come back in here and she calls me back and asks me the same question again. But if you tell her the music teacher's coming, she remembers that.
Unfortunately for Miss Helen and her daughter, this program may be ending, And therapist Laura Teisman explains it's because people don't truly understand the benefit behind it.
I've been a music therapist for over 10 years now. In the 10 years that I've been practicing, I've had to advocate every single day. Music is one of the only activities other than exercise that we know of currently that stimulates both hemispheres of the brain simultaneously. So it can actually help to repair damage done to the brain from stroke or any other traumatic brain injury.
This program was requested for Miss Helen by her daughter because she says this is all Miss Helen can do.
She can't play games anymore. She can't crochet or do anything with her hands. She doesn't know how to do any of that. And with the music, she can sing.
So even though the end of the program may be near, Miss Helen will continue to improve her memory.
Do you remember who this is?
While doing what she loves. For Carolina News, I'm Anna King.
The joy the music brings the patient alone seems to make it worthwhile, but hopefully with continued exposure, music programs like this one will continue to brighten patients' days.
Vitamin E acetate could possibly be linked to the widespread outbreak of vaping illnesses. These outbreaks began in March, and now officials are asking you to stop purchasing e-cigarettes and other vaping products. Research has shown that vitamin E could irritate the lungs when inhaled. Stores like Walmart and Sam's will no longer sell the product once the current inventory sells out. But forget the cigarettes, college students are more in favor of joints. A study found marijuana usage is growing among young adults. Marijuana increased in popularity among 18 to 22-year-olds in college by nearly 8% in recent years. In 2017, about 40% of young adults admitted to using the drug within the past year. Research found that students were exclusively more likely to use marijuana over tobacco. However, the study did not specify how those students were consuming pot.
It's normal to have less energy as the temperatures drop and the sun sets a little sooner, but when does a change in mood become a disorder? Reporter Angela Howell has more on when the wintertime feels like it's putting your body in hibernation.
As winter approaches and the days get shorter and shorter, some people experience more than just the winter blues. Seasonal affective disorder is a type of depression that is triggered by the lack of adequate sunlight from late fall to early spring. According to Mayo Clinic, there are 3 million cases of the disorder reported each year in America. Symptoms of seasonal affective disorder include fatigue, difficulty concentrating, lack of motivation, changes in appetite, and loss of interest. Christina Jones is a counselor at the University of South Carolina who sees patients who suffer from seasonal depression.
Sunlight impacts our mood. So more darkness, less hours of sunlight, the more likely it is that your body is going to think that it's time for napping, it's time to sleep. So we know that melatonin is also induced by sunlight and darkness. So the less sunlight that you have and the more hours of darkness that you have, your body will tend to adjust to that.
Effective treatment for seasonal depression includes supplementing with light therapy lamps like this one. Unlike regular light bulbs, therapy lamps contain the full spectrum of light that mimics sunlight to release chemicals in your brain like serotonin and melatonin that uplift your mood. It's meant to be used for 10 to 30 minutes within the first couple hours of waking up, so enjoy your morning coffee while basking in the light.
Lots of different research out there on lights. I have one behind me. I use it quite often. There's a pretty high success rate with people reporting reduced symptoms with the use of a light.
So if the long nights are getting you down, try supplementing with light therapy to lift you back up. For Carolina News, I'm Angela Howell.
Thanks, Angela. Make sure to check with your doctor to make sure light therapy is a good treatment for you during seasonal affective disorder.
Now, I'm wondering if I'm going to have to wake up earlier in the mornings now just to defrost my car to get here, especially with all this winter weather coming our way.
I don't know. We may have to check with Callie. Callie, how is the weather looking outside? Do you have another update for us?
Up on Carolina News. The holidays are right around the corner, and Columbia is about to light the way into the festive season.
And I think that's how the Vista became to what it is, with local people, local business owners coming together.
And your kids are starting to give their wish list, but what they're asking for may not be what's best for them. Then we give you an update on the Hong Kong protest, and one student weighs in on the effects of it here and in his home.
They took bows and arrows from the track and field office and started lighting them on fire and firing them at the police.
And finally, wedding venues can be exotic or close to home.
Look at that.
But what about up in the air? How one couple took weddings to new heights. Carolina News starts now.
From the University of South Carolina, your news, your sports, your weather. Carolina News begins now.
Hello everyone, it's Thursday afternoon and time for Carolina News. I'm Eli Brand.
And I'm Kelly Garcia. Columbia is starting to finally feel that holiday season with Thanksgiving just a few days away and Christmas just around the corner.
That's right, Kelly, and with the holiday season comes the festive lights that start twinkling around the city. Mike Rogers is live from the Vista to see the sights and the lights in Columbia.
Thanks guys, they're still sitting up here in the Vista as businesses gear up for a great celebration tonight. The 34th annual Vista Lights celebration will officially kick off Columbia's Christmas season at 6 p.m. tonight. There'll be plenty of holiday cheer to go around, but the festival brings a lot more than cheer to local businesses.
They're setting the tables for a holly jolly night. They're also setting up small businesses to answer to the influx of chain stores in Columbia. Tonight, Vista business owners will work together to throw the best holiday festival possible for Columbia residents, which keeps the money under the Vista's tree.
I think that's how the Vista became to what it is, with local people, local business owners coming together and building it into what it is today.
According to General Manager of Blue Marlin, Daniel Grant, Vista Lights gets bigger and better every year.
There's been a lot more local businesses taking part, which is great for the community, and great for the Vista.
And new businesses are excited for the chance to impress the community.
We have a lot of new businesses in the area, and this is a way for them to open their doors, create different specials.
So when the lights turn on tonight, Columbia residents can celebrate the community that they've helped to build.
Over 60 businesses will open their door for the festival tonight, and many restaurants will be offering free samples, like the Blue Marlin, where you can get free shrimp and grits tonight. Stop by from 6 to 10 tonight to enjoy live music and to keep money in the local community. Reporting live from the Vista for Carolina News, Mike Rogers. Back to you guys in the studio.
Around 5 p.m., Christmas lights along the WIS Tower will be officially lit. And as a tradition over 60 years, families see the tower lighting as a sign of the holiday season. Lexington native Danny Connell and his family will flip the switch to turn on the lights. You can watch the full ceremony on the WIS Facebook page. The summer's drought and extra hot weather has impacted Christmas tree farmers right here in the Midlands. Farmers say they had to use extra water from irrigation systems to keep the trees healthy and growing. The extra water and extra labor adds up to higher Christmas trees costs. And David Drass in Lexington says this growing season has been very hard.
Smaller trees that hadn't established roots well died because of the drought. I watered them in the spring, but then later in the year they needed watering again. I didn't do enough watering, and I lost a few, maybe 12 or 15.
The recession from 2008 and the lack of rain will continue to raise the prices of Christmas trees as we go into the holiday season. However, these trees were small and weren't ready to be sold this year, but will just affect supply later on. Every year, especially around the holidays, millions of parents, grandparents, and loved ones buy toys for children in their lives. But there is some information caregivers should know before the children actually receive those toys. Reporter Callista Brown learned what toys are safe and which ones you should actually avoid.
Slime, magnets, and balloons. Oh my! The decorations are going up and the holidays are arriving in the Midlands. And for many kids, it means time to start making wish lists. But there are some toys that should not be on those lists.
Here at Prisma Health Children's Hospital, they want to make sure kids are staying safe, especially this holiday season.
Today, two doctors shared the 34th annual Trouble in Toyland report, which highlights
potential threats in toys, including high levels of lead and other toxins, smart toys with data security flaws, choking hazards, and recalled toys.
Most expect children's toys would be safe, but
in May, the Washington Attorney General announced testing which revealed illegal levels of lead and cadmium in supplies and kids' jewelry.
The doctors say one of the most common issues they see is choking.
The general rule we like to think about too is with small toys is if it can fit inside a toilet paper tube, it's too small for a 3-year-old.
They also suggest any toys with wheels or that move. The child always wear a helmet.
We think that helmets decrease the risk of injury to the brain by 80%, so we highly encourage every kid to wear a helmet on anything that moves.
So this holiday season, make sure you check the standards of your child's toy. For Carolina News, I'm Callista Brown.
If you're unsure if a toy is safe or not, you can visit toysafetytips.org, where they have a list of recalled toys and they identify which toys can be cautious and of their hazards.
Well, I don't know about shopping, but I'm definitely ready for some gift receiving this
yes,
holiday
same.
season.
Well, holiday toy shopping has us feeling like winter is getting close, but I'm not sure if those temperatures outside agree.
We have Elena Barilla live outside in the Kennedy Greenhouse studio to tell us how it is. Elena, how does today compare to what it's usually like for this time of year?
Well, we're 1 week away from Thanksgiving Day, and temperatures in South Carolina are sitting right where they should for this time of year. It's about 62 degrees outside right now, and maps I looked at today aren't showing any significant effects of wind chill. Wind is only heading about 3 miles per hour right now. It feels great out here, and hopefully these mild temperatures will stick around through the rest of the week. Coming up later in the show, we'll take a look at how much the temperature will drop overnight. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Elena. We're definitely loving this weather. A former law enforcement officer with the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety has been arrested for taking money from the evidence room. Carl Wayne Schultz was charged with misconduct in office after he stole money from the ODPS evidence room between September and December of 2018. Schultz took just over $17,000 that was supposed to be deposited into an account for the city of Orangeburg. The case will be prosecuted by the First Solicitor's Office. Columbia Police Department investigators and the Special Victims Unit are searching for a 57-year-old man who was reported missing by relatives. John Williams Huggins left for work on Morningside Drive in West Columbia on Friday, November 15th, and hasn't spoken to his family members since. According to law enforcement, Huggins needs medicine, and relatives are concerned with his safety and well-being.
A bipartisan group of South Carolina legislators pre-filed a hate crimes legislation. The proposed bill will strengthen penalties for crimes that are motivated by hate based on race, faith, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. South Carolina is one of only 4 states in the country that does not protect against hate crimes, according to the FBI. There have been over 100 hate crimes reported in South Carolina in just 1 year. Over the past few weeks, protests in Hong Kong have escalated into violence. Reporter Katie Freeman learned about the country's history and spoke with a student here at USC who experienced the violence firsthand.
Hong Kong used to be a part of Britain, but in 1997 was transferred over to Chinese rule, but allowed to remain autonomous, as Chai-Han Chen, an exchange student from Taiwan, explains.
Hong Kong is kind of like a, they have their law, their law systems. They don't want to, just like combine with China government. And they also have a democracy. That's the most important. You can, you can just say whatever you want there. Used to be.
The Chinese government has slowly begun trying to enforce their laws on Hong Kong citizens, and the efforts have not been well received. I'm standing here on the main part of campus at the University of South Carolina, and as you can see, it's very quiet, very peaceful, and altogether a very different scene than the one we're seeing at universities currently in Hong Kong.
So then they decided to barricade the whole university up and block all the roads and everything, and that's when the police started firing tear gas in the campus, and like the students destroyed the train tracks next to the campus for the subway system. They took bows and arrows from the track and field office and like started lighting them on fire and firing them at the police and using petrol bombs. And that was all in like a period of like 24 hours. Like all of a sudden it just went insane.
U of SC senior Jack Hall was studying abroad in Hong Kong until just a few days ago when the University of South Carolina urged him and his classmates to return home for their safety. He explained that this semester looked a bit different than the first 2 he spent studying abroad in Hong Kong.
As like the semester went on, it went from like pretty calm, it seemed like at first, to like, I guess as the government kept putting more bans and regulations on the protesters and denying their protest license, then they just started getting more and more violent, and you could see that protesters were getting more and more impatient with the government.
Protesters and the government have reached a stalemate for the time being, and according to Chen, unless the list of protesters' demands are met, it doesn't look like the situation is going to calm down anytime soon.
Most of the people without China, they said, we are not those terrorists which are just trying to say what we want, to the government, and we hope that the government can react to do some reaction.
Reporting for Carolina News, Katie Freeman.
The escalating violence could also pose an obstacle to a trade deal between the U.S. and China, as we're still waiting to see what action President Trump may take on the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democratic Act.
Well, the White House definitely has their eye on Hong Kong right now, but they also have their eyes on something else. And coming up next on Carolina News, day 3 of the impeachment process has come and gone, but what does it all mean for the future of the president? We'll have your update when we come back. Welcome back to Carolina News. Today marks day 5 of the public impeachment hearings into whether or not President Donald Trump wrongly withheld security aid to Ukraine in exchange for investigations into a political rival. Sarah Pritchard has more on today's hearings.
Today marks the final day of scheduled public hearings in the impeachment inquiry into President Donald Trump. Senior policy and political advisor in Ukraine, David Holmes, confirmed that the president would not agree to a White House visit with President Zelensky until he agreed to investigate political rival Joe Biden and his son.
It was made clear that some action on Burisma Biden investigation was a precondition for an Oval Office visit.
There is no evidence of any wrongdoing by the former vice president. In her opening statement, top advisor on the National Security Council, Fiona Hill, warns that the Russians are preparing to interfere in the U.S. elections again in 2020.
Some of you on this committee appear to believe that Russia and its security services did not conduct a campaign against our country, and that perhaps, somehow, for some reason, Ukraine did. This is a fictional narrative that has been perpetrated and propagated by the Russian security services themselves.
Holmes also testified about a phone call he overheard during lunch between President Trump and Ambassador Sondland. Holmes says when he asked Sondland about the call, the ambassador confirmed that the president did not care about the Ukraine, but rather the investigations.
Ambassador Sondland stated that the president only cares about big stuff. I noted there was big stuff going on in Ukraine, like a war with Russia. And Ambassador Sondland replied that he meant big stuff that benefits the president, like the Biden investigation that Mr. Giuliani was pushing.
Well, the hearings for today are just about wrapping up, but after 7 separate hearings over 5 full days of public testimony, there are no more scheduled hearings, and House Democrats have some decisions to make. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff says Democrats will decide in the coming days what the response will be. If they conclude their investigation, it will go to the Judiciary Committee, which could then decide to draw up articles of impeachment. All they need is a simple majority to pass the articles and bring them to the full House vote on whether or not to impeach the president. Reporting live from the newsroom, I'm Sarah Pritchard.
Expert and witness testimonies continue in the killing of an IT employee for the Lexington County Sheriff's Department. 31-year-old Lindsay Lee was found dead inside her home in 2017 after she didn't show up for work. Now a Lexington County jury is deciding whether Lee's estranged husband, Jason Lee, is guilty of killing her. On Tuesday, the jury heard testimonies from DNA scientists and witnesses who say they saw Lee the day of her murder.
South Carolina Highway Patrol is investigating a hit and run that left one woman dead. Terry Autry was hit around 9 p.m. last night on Highway 6. Authorities say the car was a 2017 Toyota. The driver of the Toyota failed to stop to help Autry. Police arrested a former Spring Valley High School resource officer after having an inappropriate relationship with a student from the school. Richland County Sheriff Leon Law announced that Jamal Bradley has been charged with third-degree criminal sexual conduct. The incident happened in 2018, and the family is suing both the Sheriff's Department and the Richland County School District 2.
In 2017, the International Labor Organization estimated that 24.9 million men, women, and children were victims of human trafficking around the globe. Today, there are approximately 20 to 40 million people trapped. Reporter Taylor Hicks sat down with a human trafficking survivor to discuss the dangers of this business.
The holiday season is a time for lending a helping hand. Lighthouse for Life did just that by hosting their annual holiday market in hopes of raising awareness about sex trafficking in order to help victims like Heather Cook.
For 18 years, from the age of 14 to 32,
I was involved in human trafficking.
Cook was in search of the love and affirmation that she never received. One day, that so-called love and affirmation found her.
I had a gentleman who approached me at the age of 14 who told me things that, I wanted to hear from other reliable sources, and told me that he would help me and no bad things would ever happen to me again, and he would take care of me.
Investigative Officer Morris Davis says that sex trafficking does not just look one way.
You've seen it one way, I think that that's the only way. It's many different, forms of sex trafficking, and a lot of the suspects, they're not that person who's that stranger. It's always someone that they normally know.
Cook has been out of that life for 11 years, and her exit of escape was the South Carolina Department of Corrections.
We were in Charleston at the time. I had been purchased for a significant amount of money, someone I didn't know, someone he didn't know, and I was scared.
That night, Cook talked him into letting her go to the store to get a carry-on bag, and a cop was behind her at a traffic light. She was wanted by Lexington County Probation, Parole, and Pardon Services.
As I went to go pull off from the light, I didn't turn on my blinker, and the officer stopped me.
Cook then told the officers who she was and got arrested. Since then, Cook has become part of Lighthouse for Life so that she could help educate others about the dangers of sex trafficking in order to prevent others from experiencing the same trauma that she did. Jennifer Thompson, CEO of Lighthouse for Life, urges people to stay alert because sex trafficking is very common.
You need to do your research, and you need to vet people, and you need to take your time in relationships and not just jump ship with the first person that comes along that might be your magical savior or whatever.
One of the biggest tips for staying safe that law enforcement officers advise is to be careful of who you meet online. This means do not accept any random friend request. Be careful of what you send and or post, and you may not think that this is a big deal, but do not answer any random video calls.
Buddying up with friends, not to be by yourself so much, and just basically be aware of your surroundings.
Cook says that she is still in the constant process of healing, but has a few words of wisdom to victims everywhere.
Well, there's hope. You are not in a situation that can't change.
For Carolina News, I'm Taylor Hicks.
If you want to help take steps against sex trafficking and exploitation, visit lighthouseforlife.org for upcoming events and fundraisers.
We have Elena Barilla outside of our Kennedy greenhouse with an update on today's weather.
Elena, it's feeling great outside right now, but what's it going to be like later tonight?
That's hilarious. Isn't it second sack socks? Sack is
a drop as that sun goes down tonight. Right now we're looking at a low of about 46 degrees tonight, but hey, I'll take it. Last week we were looking at lows into the 30s. There may be some rain clouds rolling in soon. I'll have your 5-day forecast coming up after the break.